finally, we get to do some AFL. Episode 16 of Clicking Balls.
16 already?
16 already. Well, I didn't count MA2K stuff, so it's 16-ish. But anyway, that's the number I'm going to put on the front of it. So here we're looking at AFL Round 2 that's just happened over the weekend, and looking forward to Round 3. So we'll try and do this every week if we can, in between all the other stuff we're doing. So no more mucking around, go straight into it. First game of the week was West Coast versus Carlton over there. Yeah, first thing, how brilliant was the first quarter?
It was fantastic. I think a big part of that was Judd.
Yeah, he was on.
He wound back the clock a bit. He couldn't keep it up all game, but...
There's a bit of emotion pre-game too. They're saying it might be the last time they see him over there. Yeah, against the Eagles, obviously. Because I think it's pretty much, if not all, confirmed that this is his final run around this year.
Yeah, he lifted to the occasion, and the bloke he got traded for did too.
Yeah, Jay Kennedy kicked 10 on the night. But that first quarter was possibly the best quarter of football I've seen this year.
Oh, it had everything. It was free-flowing, there was nice run, there was smart play.
Yeah.
Taking good options.
Hitting targets, and there was tight tackles, there was defence, there was offence, there was everything. And then there was 3 more quarters.
Yeah, Carlton kind of packed up a bit. I think Mick would have gone in at quarter time and probably told the boys, you're not doing enough. And then the boys kind of thought, well, fuck you, we'll do nothing.
I'll show you how little we can do. Look, yeah, they're in trouble. They haven't got the cattle. They made poor moves off season. They let Eddie Betts go to get Dale Thomas, and Dale Thomas couldn't get over his ankle injuries last year and had a bit of a crap year, and now he's pulled his shoulder in the first game, in the first minute.
Yeah.
So he's not out there as well. So that's backfired on him a bit. Casbolt couldn't kick. That was shocking.
His contested mark was, and the commentator said it too, Carey-like. His ability to grab the ball. His ability to kick the ball was shite-hole.
Yeah. It's an AFL footballer who drops the ball like that it's not acceptable. And he's, in a way, he's lucky Carlton's so shit that they probably can't afford to drop him.
The funny thing was, Richo had a good comment about it, because they were getting into him stuff about his method and everything, and they were saying, there's plenty of blokes who be able to show him how to drop the ball, and Richo was like, maybe just get one.
Yeah.
Just one.
Yeah.
And that'll be plenty.
But he's right what he's saying, though. He just needs one person that connects with him and will listen to him, and it's finding the right coach for the right person.
Absolutely.
And, Essendon have had the same problems with Joey Danaher, and they've got Matty Lloyd down there, who, when it comes to set shots on goal, is an absolute robot, and that's what you want. And it might be working for him. Casbolt's got to do something, because that's shocking.
If he was playing centre-half back, that's different.
Yeah.
But they need him to kick goals, and he's just not.
And you're right, it's such a good contested mark, such big mitts on him.
He's one of those blokes that if he gets to where it could get, he's going to be a game winner.
Yeah. There was a game against Hawthorn last year. He nearly took it away from Hawthorn because of his contested marking. But, onto the good side of that game, being the West Coast Eagles. So they really ran away with it. Nick Nat played an absolute blinder.
He is unbelievable.
He's been threatening this for years, and we've always heard how much of an athlete, and when he gets it all together, he's going to take a game apart. Now he's fully fit. He looks like injury-free, and he looks like it could be a freakish year for him.
But it's not just his athleticism; it's his intelligence too. Like,
he's a football nous.
He's tapping to his rovers. I mean, it sounds basic, but so many ruckmen don't do it.
Yeah.
You look at guys like Sandilands; he just whacks the shit out of the ball and then hopes his runners get to it.
Such a big difference between hit-outs and hit-outs to advantage.
Absolutely.
Now that Dean Cox is gone, he has to play that. He can't be just a ruckman. He needs to be another a link. In going from defence into offence, and he's got no problems with it. They've got no worries kicking it to him, and he's got no worries, laying off the handball or kicking it himself. Such a weapon. But obviously, the big thing out of the game was Kennedy's kicked 10 goals again.
They were 10 sweet goals too.
Yeah, 10 goals, 1, I think he kicked.
Yeah, I think he had 1 out in the full as well.
Okay. I didn't remember that, but yeah, or one, yeah.
He had some, and he did it all. There was some nice set shots, some nice snaps, and
led well, kicked to him well.
Simpson did the right thing. As soon as they realised he was on, they was like, all right, Pagan's padding. Everyone get the fuck out of the way.
Yep.
Let him lead into open space.
But I think Luke Craw still kicked half a dozen, or no, not half a dozen, but 4 or 5.
Yeah, he still got a heady bunch.
And I think even Kennedy gave him a couple.
Yeah, I think a few of them were late.
Yeah,
You know, I think once you kick 10 as a full forward, you kind of like,
I've done it. I've done my job.
I reckon I got votes here.
Yeah. And he was very smart. If you remember when he took the mark from the ninth one, and there was a little bit of a scuffle started. He's like, "I'm kicking this bastard before they change it." That was very clever.
That's a veteran move, that one.
But it brought up a lot of commentary about calling him. A lot of people, and I know Hutchie did it on the Monday night shows, called him a flat track bully. I don't get that. What does that even fucking mean? Like, he kicks more goals against shitter teams. Like, well, of course he does, because they're shitter. Everybody plays better against shit teams.
The same criticism was made of Jared. Wait.
Yeah.
But look, you're a full forward. You'd expect to get more goals against shitty teams.
Yeah.
But Kennedy is, if you're going to talk about Coleman this year, you've got to mention his name.
Well, he's kicked 10. I think no matter what he did in round one, 10 puts him on top of the ladder at the minute.
But even without that, for the whole year, you're going to, if you're betting on Coleman, you're going to look at Walker, Franklin, and Kennedy.
Yeah, I think so.
I can't think of another name I'd put in there, at least not at good odds.
No.
Or a lot of odds.
And having said that, I think every year there's a small forward who pops up and you go, oh, he could do it. And then by round 12, they're gone. But,
yeah,
Kennedy's the one.
I'd love to see a small forward get it, but they're tagged out so easily. And once a small forward starts to struggle in a game, they move them into the middle or onto one of the flanks, which is the role.
Yeah. But with Kennedy, calling him a flat track bully, what I don't get, they say, okay, he's kicked 10 goals 3 times. He's the only player in the AFL to do it. He did it against GWS, against Carlton now, and I've forgotten the other team, but another team, it might have been Brisbane, that weren't playing finals that year. If it is so easy, why doesn't everybody do it?
Look,
that's why he's still got to kick him.
Call him a flat track bully if you like, but I'm pretty sure every team, probably bar Sydney, would have him on their team.
Yeah, Sydney will take him.
They put him somewhere.
They trade him for Tippett.
At the minute, yeah.
The same thing was said about Matty Hayden when he scored 380 against Zimbabwe. Remember, it was the Australian record. I'm like, yeah, it's just Zimbabwe though. It's, what is it? It doesn't really count.
Yeah,
I'm like, if it's so easy, why doesn't somebody else do it? And so, if kicking 10 against Carlton's so easy, why didn't Rewalt do it last week, or Griffith, or anybody else? He's the only person in the AFL that's done it 3 times. Franklin is brilliant and an absolute freak. He's only kicked 10 goals once. So
and that was probably 10 goals, 15.
Well, it was 13 against North, mate. You remember it? So calling him a flat track bully, it's a nothing. It means nothing. Like, if it's so easy, why doesn't everyone do it? Anyway.
Well, it's one of those things. Oh, if we double team him, he'll struggle. Fuck yeah, he will.
Yeah, of course he will. And then Lacroix's going to kick another dozen.
Exactly. And that's why this is a team sport.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, Carlton in trouble. And I think the only thing that's keeping Mick in a job is, 1, payout's too big, and 2, he's got the record, coaching record coming up later on in the year. So you can't sack him before that.
And probably 3, who's going to replace him?
Well, you'll find someone. They'll always find someone.
Oh, there's always a coach willing to come in, be interim coaching at sacked.
There's only 18 gigs.
Yeah.
Up for grabs.
The thing is, well, all right, who's going to do the job better? I mean, on history, there aren't that many quality coaches running around without a gig.
He's probably the second highest paid coach at the minute, because Paul Roos is getting stupid money.
Oh, and he deserves it.
Well, yeah, Melbourne needs something.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know if you want to pay a coach 1.1 for a rebuild. But anyway, you got to do it right. Their problem is list management anyway, so it's going to take years, no matter who's in this chair.
Actually, there was a great article on AFL.com about the last 5 drafts that Carlton have had.
How bad?
Oh, fucking shite.
It can hurt.
And that kills teams.
Yeah.
Like
Kills careers.
I think they only had about 5 of the 20 or so players drafted who've even played senior matches.
Yeah.
And some of them just you'd never see them on the field.
Yeah.
And that's like their second, third pick.
I'll tell you the other thing, because we saw Carlton round 1 against Richmond, and again they were brilliant in the first quarter, and then died after that. Who was it? Ed Curnow. Cade Simpson hates him. I don't know if he was just having a bad night, but he was going off at him. I counted 3 or 4 times, and we could hear it, and it wasn't pretty at all. Anyway, so maybe they got some other issues there. But, it's round 2. They can turn shit around. They won't, but they could.
Well, I don't really care. Actually, no, I hope they turn around a little bit. Just
to give them hope.
Well, just because it means there's more chance of Collingwood being on the bottom, really.
Well, that's a good chance too. Next game, Bulldogs Richmond. I think the Bulldogs have caught people by a little bit by surprise.
I reckon these are two of the most exciting teams going around.
Yeah.
Richmond, inconsistent. But when they're on, their ability to run the ball and until Basher Hooley gets it in the back flank, make good decisions is brilliant.
Hooley and Griggs are both the same. They're such good kicks as long as they pick the right option. And sometimes they can run themselves into trouble.
Yeah, I think you said in the preseason thing, Hooley, he doesn't look for the best pass. He looks for the best pass once he's finished running.
Yeah. I think we might have actually said it. I think when we were at the game.
Yeah.
There were, I can't remember who the other player. It might have been Vlossen or Ellis in the game against Carlton. He was running down the wing, bouncing it until the forward was ready.
Yeah.
And then he kicked it. Hooley keeps running until he's finished running, then he kicks it.
Yeah, he waits until he's hot, and they're like, get rid of it. He's like, all right, get rid of it. What have I got?
Yeah, too late.
Yeah, he's only planning one move ahead.
Doesn't matter
than 3 or 4.
if you've got another 30 metres spare, but the forward's free now, you kick it now.
Yeah.
And I think that's an error in his game. But the Bulldogs, how good is Bontempelli?
I said it before. I said it at the start. He is a Brownlow darkie, and I've got a bit of cash on him. I reckon I've got a couple of votes in there already.
I tell you what, I don't think he's leading it, but after 2 rounds, but he's probably got 3 or 4 votes.
Well, gee, Adlet's not taking votes off anyone.
Yeah, there's somebody else I think who's got a couple of best on grounds already. But yeah, second season this is, and he's already looking the goods. He's 192 centimetres, runs, kicks, does everything you want to do. He's not good in front of a camera, but he was on the footy show last week, I think, and he's young, he might grow into it. But I was listening to Cam Mooney on the radio today saying, second year player, he's already pulling up other players at trainings his age and younger, saying, hey, come on, pull up your boots, pull up your socks, you're not pulling your weight here. And already they're talking, if Bob Murphy plays one more year, then you've got to look for a new captain. He's putting his hand up hard and fast.
And that's probably to Liberatore's detriment, because
Liver's sitting out this year.
If he was fit, maybe he'd be in the same boat, but unfortunately he's just not. And Bontempelli, he is such an exciting player.
Yep, and they love him.
And he's not media unfriendliness, if you like, or
no
unsuitability. I don't see that as a bad thing.
Well, they had Chris Grant for bloody 12 years, and he was an absolute champion and should have won a Brownlow if he didn't get reported. He was the same thing. He was just a bit abrasive or standoffish. That's means nothing on game day.
No, and when Bontempelli's pulling up other players, that to me says he cares about the club. And
and he's thinking football all the time.
Yeah, and every club needs that player who puts the club first. You've got stories of Archer was one of the best ones.
Yep.
Martin Pike comes to the Kangaroos. Archer pulls up in the change room rather vigorously,
aggressively,
and says, "Don't you fuck up my club."
Yep.
You need that bloke.
Yeah. The
bloke who bleeds for your club and will just do anything for it. Actually, Archer's come back to North now. He's director of football.
Yeah, which is a good move.
Oh, you'd have blokes around that club forever. Job for life.
The other younger players for the Bulldogs, we said they've got a great core group and they're just probably a year or two too young. But, like I said, Liberatore, who's going to sit out this year with an ACL. Wallace is playing well. Stringer's playing well.
Wallace, I think he's doing something special too.
Yeah, he's a good player. But they're starting to get that bit of size about them as well. Boyd's going to take a couple of years before he gets right. Yeah. They just need that key backman, and I think they've, in 2 to 3 years, they're going to be really looking at the pointy end of the ladder.
I think that's a good point to the key backman, because they're so damn rare. Full forwards, it's easy to tell a good full forward. They kick lots of goals. But a good key backman is hard to spot because they don't always go to the full forward. And when you don't notice them, they've had a good game.
Exactly. Yeah. It's hard for them because they can play an absolute blinder and keep their opponent to just 5 kicks. The opponent kicks 4 goals, 1. You're like, well, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And they've done nothing wrong.
They have a good 5-minute burst, and you look like shit.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of top backmen going around, but
they're rare.
They're not bloody, and each team, just Brisbane last week. They lose
Yeah.
Merritt,
And they
and
look
their
shit.
backline's so fragile.
Yeah. All right, on to game 3, Giants Melbourne, and the big story there was Giants just belted them in one quarter.
Was it 14 on the trot?
They kicked 14 on the trot, 9 in one quarter.
Now, I don't care what team you are, no one should kick 14 goals straight against you.
Yeah.
Like Hawthorn versus Werribee Tigers. They shouldn't get 14 straight.
It's disappointing for Melbourne after such a fantastic effort in round 1. But, I mean, Jeremy Cameron's starting to come back into his own again. Mumford's still doing what he does. It's just such a dominant force.
I think it's terrible for Melbourne, but GWS, I think they've been underestimated. I don't think they're a finals team yet,
Not yet.
but they're going to hassle a lot of teams that are.
But how many people pick Gold Coast to finish in the finals?
Yeah.
And right now you look
I
at
think
GWS versus Gold Coast and you're like, well, I know which one I'm picking.
I think GWS are just hungrier as well.
I think that they've picked a better side. Like the way they've done it, the way they've built their list. The fact that they've lost a few players too, like obviously Boyd. Patton's sitting out this year with an ACL as well.
That's a massive blow to that team.
Yeah,
and
he's
to
second
AFL
one.
in general.
Yeah, because he was starting to dominate last year too. But Cameron's back to his old best. He's kicking absolute flukes from the sidelines. Their issue is always going to be to hold on to their players. And Dylan Shields is, I think he's out of contract this year. I'll tell you what, there's going to be 17 other clubs that'll love to have him running their midfield.
Yeah, he's not in at the moment, though, is he?
He played on the weekend.
Did he?
Yeah. Absolutely killed it. But anyway, yeah, so GWS looking all right. Next game, Adelaide Collingwood. Scoreline was very flattering to Collingwood, and I reckon Phil Walsh should be dirty on that because they were looking for a massive percentage booster. Adelaide going into the final quarter, and they put the cue in the rack a bit early.
Yeah, I saw that one. It just seemed like they're looking after themselves a bit, which, managing an injury list is at least 50% of the job when you try and make finals footy.
Yeah, but in round 2?
Yeah.
And the thing is, you can look after yourself all you like, and then something fluky like with Brodie Smith happens.
Yeah.
And he cracks his skull and, I don't know, did not look good at all. Looked like an MMA knockout.
Yeah.
But it's just, shit happens. There was nothing untoward about it. There was no report. I don't think it was even looked at. No, it was looked at by the MRP, and they just said, shit happens. It's not a sling tackle. It's just a tackle, and somebody's coming running the other way. But Collingwood have got big troubles. I mean, they lost another player. Pendlebury's not looking good. He's got ankle complaints.
Yeah, that's right. He had a scan.
Cloak struggled to get into it.
Yeah, Cloak. I mean, if you're going to talk flat track bullies, you've got to look at him.
Yeah, I mean, he's I don't know. He's one of the best contested marks in the league.
Oh, absolutely.
He still can't kick, and there's no excuse for it anymore. If I was there, I'd be saying, you know what, we're short of a key backman right now. You're a centre half back because you can't kick straight, you can't kick goals. Jesse White had his best game in black and white, I reckon too. He had a good game. But the Crows absolutely flying.
Oh, look, and they're playing brilliantly. Their midfield, built around Dangerfield, Sloan, those guys are fucking brilliant.
Geez, I tell you what, I'm a bit closer. They're really sweating on Dangerfield. I don't think he'll leave, but geez,
I think they need to make finals to keep him.
yeah. If you put it this way, the way Adelaide are playing at the minute, if the reason he's leaving is to contend for a premiership, then he's leaving the wrong club because they're on the right track. Phil Walsh is an absolute taskmaster as well. He's going to be really, really hard on the team, which is why making Taylor Walker captain is just looking like an absolute masterstroke. Because he's got, he's the hard ass, and he's got the lad right under his wing, who is just reveling in the new captaincy role.
Well, I'll play a little bit to being a bit biased, Broken
Of course,
Hill lad.
from our club at Broken Hill, nonetheless.
Yeah, and remember him as a little kid swearing at the umpire when he was 4. But I don't think even his harshest critic would say he hasn't become twice the player he was, and already as a good player going from there by getting the captaincy.
Yeah, it's amazing when you see somebody take that role and just become even better because of it. I know it's only 2 games in, but it fits like a glove. It's so good to see. And Adelaide, the top of the ladder at the minute, and they're facing Melbourne next week, so it's looking three from three for them.
Oh, they won't lose to Melbourne.
Not in Adelaide.
I would give you 10-1.
I wonder what Sportsbet or whoever is giving it, because it's probably not far off it.
I reckon you'd just be able to fill your own in.
Yeah, if you're betting on Melbourne. Okay, St Kilda, Gold Coast. Saints have got something to cheer for.
Yeah.
We always knew it was going to be a rough year for them, but they've got a win on the board already,
which is more than I thought they'd get all season.
Just about. Bruce kicked 5 or 6. Takes probably mark of the year in round 1. Round 2, he's bagging half a dozen.
He got 6, yeah.
Yeah. It was he's quite amazing. I don't think anybody would have thought he'd pop up and get mentions in best players and highlight reels, in the first 2 rounds. He's the name on everyone's lips now from St Kilda. They got big Paddy McCartan running around in the 2s, thinking we don't want to rush him in. Bruce is absolutely tearing it down.
And Saad coming back.
Yeah.
Well, again, he actually had a decent match.
Yeah, he kicked a couple, which is good to see, because I think one of the unluckiest players ever. We've said 100 times before.
Oh, look, just
with everything that's gone on.
Yeah.
The bloke that's taken basically a milkshake, and it's got the wrong shit in it. And sits out for 2 years. It's great to see him come back. I think he's rookie listed, so he's been upgraded at the minute for somebody else who's got an injury. So it is good to see. I'm generally happy to see that he is making a thing of it.
Yeah, Lord, you do have to make sure it's a clean sport. No argument about that at all. But you need to have the punishment fit the crime.
It's fucking harsh.
You can't have maximum minimum sentencing or anything.
Yeah,
mandatory minimum sentencing, I meant to say.
Yeah.
Look.
But a positive test is a positive test. It's a banned substance, and it's one of those things like you should know better.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's going to cost Crowley as well, But that's what happens, and you move on. What else? You haven't got much of a choice.
No, but I mean, which is worse, someone who does that or someone that turns up to game day coked out?
Yeah. Well,
as long as you self-report, there's no problem with that.
Yeah, well, I've got no problem with recreational drugs because they're not performance enhancing, and I don't care.
I reckon they probably would be.
I don't think so. I mean, sure, if you're high as a kite, you might go around hugging everyone, but you're going to get caught for holding the man.
Yeah, but if you're on, say, ice, those guys run forever. Granted, they probably wouldn't need a mouth guard because it wouldn't have any teeth.
You're going to say, but first chance they get, they're going to nick the GoPro off the goal umpire's hat and try and flog it off.
Quite possible. They'd have to make sure there's no cash converters nearby.
And, every time they get the ball, they're not going to bounce it. They're just going to keep running. So, yeah, that, to me, I know...
see one of the cops and just fucking piss bomb.
Oh, take the security guards. No worries. Those bastards, I can take them.
Geez, you see someone... I've actually thought about it a few times. You see the big motherfucker, none of them are under 130 kilo, I reckon.
No.
And not much of it's muscle. And I'm not going to claim any great fitness. I still reckon I can outrun them.
Yeah. There's just, unfortunately there's not much in it. Okay, on to Sydney versus Port, which was, again, the scoreline, I think, what was it, 45 points, or thereabouts. It was closer than that, but at the same time, it wasn't. Sydney it wasn't a belting, but Sydney were just that little bit better all day, everywhere, if that makes sense.
Honestly, this surprised me. I thought this would be one of the match of the rounds. I've got Port as premiership contenders.
Yep.
They're not really showing it at the moment.
Well, it's 2 rounds in though, but they lost to Freo, who finished 4th last year.
Yeah.
On the ladder, and they've lost to Sydney, who finished 1st. So it's not like they've played shitty teams, and they lost to Freo in Freo.
But they lost to Sydney
in Adelaide.
Packed out.
Speaking on that, they had a great win last year with the Never Tear Us Apart. And look, it doesn't matter if you think it's cheesy, the 50,000 there love it.
Oh, fair
and that's
play.
part of the experience. Fantastic. Do you reckon they took it a little bit too far by having a couple of the band members of NXS there in the goal square with Koshi while the umpire's waiting to bounce the fucking ball?
Yeah, I can see what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it a family-friendly event because they actually had the stage near the Bradman scoreboard.
Yeah.
And, you know, at quarter time, half time, they got him playing. I mean,
Yeah.
it's pretty much an NXS cover band without Michael Hutchins, but he's kind of busy at the moment, being dead and all. Look,
But
it's still better than the hip hop dances that you get at the T20 matches.
Yeah, and that's fine, having the stage up there, but do you need the band on the ground while the umpire's in the middle with the ball waiting to bounce?
Now, you quietly tell them to fuck off, surely.
Well, that's exactly what the goal umpire did. He goes, mate, get the fuck out of here. I thought, guys, we understand. You're very proud of it. It's worked very well. Just settle it down now, guys, and worry about the football. But anyway, Koshi, he wanted to, really drive home the fact of how much of a win they've had with the Never Tear Us Apart. But anyway, sells a lot of scarves, I guess.
Yeah, imagine what it'd be like for the original members of NXS too. Like, they used to playing Wembley Stadium, 80,000 people, and they get to Adelaide Oval and there's 50,000 people there. They finish playing at the start and they're up on the stage waiting for quarter time and no one gives up. But they're just not, you guys still there? Oh, shit, okay.
Before the game they did, but...
yeah, and then they see the backs of everyone's head.
So Port, their big off-season get was Paddy Ryder, which is fortunate because their number one ruckman, Lobby, is gone down with a quad strain, I think. Problem was Mike Pike, who's not a All-Australian ruckman, I don't think. He's probably not in the top 5 or 6 ruckmen in the league. He dominated. He absolutely cleaned them up and gave the Sydney mids first use of the ball all night.
Yeah.
And that's really where they drove it.
Oh, look, if you can get first use of the ball from the centre, you're straight into attack.
Yeah.
Like, one kick out of the middle, you're in the 50.
Look, their other ruckman was Redden, who's played his first game in 2.5 years or something. So, fair enough, mate. We just want you to run out the game and not get injured. No worries. But, Paddy Ryder, you're a big ticket item. You got to perform better than that. But early days.
Oh, he'll come good.
Yeah. We know he can be like that, though. He was like that at Essendon. He has
Yeah.
good games and he has bad games. And there's a big gap in between.
He just seems like one of those blokes who, he's not that hungry. Like, he's not one of those guys that'll run till he pukes.
Yep. I can definitely see that. But it's such a shame because his athletic ability is amazing.
Yeah,
And he
absolutely.
has those go-go gadget arms too. But Sydney were all over it. Everything clicked for them. After, falling asleep for 3.5 quarters against Essendon in round 1, it looked like the Sydney of old. They just had a game plan and they executed it, and that was it. There was nothing flash about it, nothing fancy. It was just Sydney doing what they wanted to do and got through it.
Yeah, I mean, as good as they were, the big conversation point is goods.
Yeah, Sydney with a vest.
Yep. Has he played too long? And that's the question running around everyone. I think he's been such a good servant of the club. You'd be so reticent to tap him on the shoulder and say, son, you're done.
Well, it's very difficult. And Jude Bolton was talking about it on the Sunday game day on Channel 7. He didn't say that Goods should have retired, but he certainly asked the question, should he have retired? It's hard. I mean, you look at last year with the Bulldogs, Gian Siracusa made the vest his own.
Yeah.
And he was basically running around as an on-field coach.
Yeah.
Now, is Goods doing that same thing? And do you want a dual Brownlow medalist running on for the last 10 minutes?
I think the difference is that Gian Siracusa was being a general to a team that was much younger
Yep.
and wasn't a flag contender.
Yeah.
So you could afford to do that. Like, they would last year, the Bulldogs were just trying to blood their new talent
Yep.
and form a team. And having a bloke running around showing them how to play the game as it's being played,
Yeah.
brilliant for them. Absolutely. And they're paying dividends now.
Yep.
I think Sydney...
If Sydney aren't thinking premiership this year, then they're kidding themselves. And of course they are.
Oh, absolutely. I can't imagine... No one ever says, no, guys, I've had enough premierships.
Yeah.
You could be winning 10 straight and you're damn hungry for that 11.
Exactly right. Yeah.
But I think had Sydney won last year, I think Goods would have called it a day.
I don't know if anybody doubts that. But, the problem with Sydney, Jude Bolton got to retire after a grand final win in 2012. And some might say he's a little bit carried in his last year, but, his role changed in his last year. Ryan O'Keefe went on, took a Norm Smith in 2012. In 2013, 13 and 14, he became, excess baggage.
Yeah.
So much that he started taking bloody sponsorship deals with condom companies to screw his wife for a month or something like that.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing.
I think Good still can contribute.
Yeah.
I think it will be as a super sub, but like he's not. He will be a Hall of Famer.
Oh, yeah,
There's no
that's
doubt about
guaranteed.
that.
He's a dual Brownlow medalist. There's not many of them running around.
No, well,
Well, there's one other running around at the minute for Carlton, but actually, no, there's another one up at Gold Coast.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a couple of them. Diamond fucking dozen. Who gives a shit, dual Brownlow medalist? It means nothing. Fuck off.
in fairness, those two blokes probably get a Guernsey too.
He's got more hair than the other two put together.
Very true.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, on to another very interesting one. Freo v Geelong. So Freo were meant to fall to the wayside this year, by some people's estimates.
Well, I picked it.
I did too. I didn't put them in my top four. What they didn't back on was Fife getting better.
Yeah, well, apparently they didn't listen to me either. That one player where you saw Fife running on the boundary line, handball along the ground to himself, pick it up, go for a snap, get smothered, recover the ball, another snap, goal.
Yeah, in round one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That to me just said, this is a kid who is fucking hungry.
No, I think it was Hombach who smothered it, or it could have been Trengrove, I can't remember, but did nothing wrong.
No,
and couldn't stop him.
They played it by the book. They made sure he was in the corner. They
defended it perfectly.
You can't
and couldn't stop it.
It's the same as when Ablett's on. Like you can do everything right, and he still cuts you to pieces.
And he went one step further against Geelong. There was one, I think it was nominated for goal of the week. He just bust through four and kicked the goal. And the four he busted through was like Corey Enright, Kelly. I think there was another senior player there who I'm going blank on. So it wasn't like he was pushing over the young lads.
Oh no, flat track bully.
Yeah, he's probably ran through 1,000 games worth of experience and kicked this goal. He's got 6 votes in the Brownlow so far. There's no doubt he has 6 votes.
Jeez, it's almost worth just telling one bloke to knock him out or some shit. Like, that's all you can do to stop him. And he's only young. He's only going to get better.
Well, I mean, it's the Derby this week, so there's always that chance.
Oh yeah.
The other thing that came out of the game was Ballantyne got 2 weeks for a high bump. You bump, you hit the head, you know you're going to get weeks. So it's a bit unfortunate, but that's the way it is. Billy Smets from Geelong going the massive forearm into the face.
Oh yeah.
Very lucky that they said it was low impact.
I'm shocked at that.
Yeah, I thought it deserved more too. If you look at the 2 incidents side by side, and you go, they get the same penalty. I mean, one, Valentine had a bad record, which elevated his, but side by side, you go, they should not get the same penalty. One's careless, the other one's fucking stupid. But anyway, from what I read in social media and on Reddit, the Geelong players are not, the Geelong fans are not disappointed that Smets isn't playing. Anyway, so Geelong in trouble. 18th. They've never been 18th in their life, but it's only 2 rounds. But still, are they in trouble?
Well, I think Freo's list is brilliant, and when they all put it together, they'll push every team.
And Pav's still good.
Well, they had Pav, they had Barlow firing,
Yeah.
they got Fife, and you've got Sandilands giving their midfield a lot of use.
It doesn't matter how old Sandiland gets; he's still 7 foot tall.
Yeah, he can still reach the top of a basketball backboard on flat feet.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was a matter of Geelong being poor. I think Freo just put it together.
Well, they've had 2 10-goal thumpings in rounds 1 and rounds 2. But again, they played 2 top 4 teams from last year. So this week they get to stay down in Sleepy Hollow and play Gold Coast, which might be good timing for them.
Yeah, I think also looking at Freo, it's their secondary players that they give a lot more than the secondary players for a lot of other teams.
Yep.
Guys like Mundy, they're not going to be your superstars, but they protect the superstars.
Yeah.
And when the superstars are getting tagged, they bob up, and all of a sudden the defence isn't sure who to cover.
Well, Freo, even in round 1, it was a little bit scrappy at times against Port, but I mean, you can only play as good as you're allowed to sometimes. But they got the job done. And
that was a great way for them to play, because Port loved their running game, and they just got shut down.
Yeah, and it was a tight game to the end, and it was a great game to watch, that first game, and they've backed it up. So they've got the Derby this week, so it'll be interesting to see how they come up against.
Actually, with Freo, do you reckon they're going to be I mean, they'd be aiming for a premiership.
They have to.
But if they don't make the grand final again, what do you reckon's going to happen? Are they going to say, "Oh, we'll go along next year," or are they going to just
start the rebuild? I don't think they can. I don't think they can start a rebuild.
I think they're pot committed, because how many years would Pavic have though?
Well, I mean, he's still playing well. So he runs around next year, no doubt.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Sanderlands, probably. I think if he doesn't have the turf toe or ever again, he probably goes around another year. So you're not going to see as much of a drop-off in Sanderlands, because he's not a hard runner or anything like that. He's a 7-foot fucking monster that stands around.
Yeah.
He's still going to be a 7-foot fucking monster next year. Pav, he might fall away. There's no evidence of it. I thought he was finished 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But he's killing it this year. So he's still going to be hard to do. Ballantyne's a great player, as much as he's a little shit. Geez, he's a good player. He's got a lot of hustle in him. So and Fife, we've already spoken. If he's not the best player in the AFL right now, he's in the top 3.
Yeah, well, I don't think there's any other player you could automatically put ahead of him.
Yeah, you've got to argue for somebody else to go ahead of him. And he's 24, or I'm not sure his actual age. It's something around those.
He's
So
fucking young.
you can't do a rebuild when you've got the best player in the league just reaching his peak.
Yeah.
And I think they've got enough around there to certainly contend this year and next year. And 2017 is probably too far away to speculate on.
Well, you'd have to think the window. They're probably in the middle of it right now. Their premiership window.
Absolutely.
They've got a lot of top players. I think the big deal with Sanderland is he's 7 feet tall, yeah, but so is Spider Burton. But
Sanderlands weighs a
Sanderlands
little bit more than Spider Burton.
And he's a lot more physically dominant than Burton was. I remember going to games and seeing him just manhandle Todd Goldstein.
Yeah.
And Goldstein's
big.
He's a big lad.
Yeah.
He'd be over 100 kgs.
Yeah.
Quite easy. I wouldn't think he'd be any shorter than 6'8".
No, easy.
But he's nowhere near as aggressive as Sanderland. And Sanderland just monstered him. And he was angry at him. He just wanted to make sure he knew that Sanderland would always be around, ready to punch him.
Well, the thing is, whenever you come up against Freo, you've got to think, right, what are we going to do about Sanderlands? You've got to be thinking that all during the week. You've got to deal with it. You know, other clubs, you go, well, we've got our ruckman versus their ruckman, we'll go up against it. You've got to have a plan for Sanderlands. In the grand final against Hawthorn, the plan was, well, he's going to win the tap. We just make sure we get under him and fuck it up once he hits the ground. But you've got it's such a unique player. You're not saying he's elite or anything like that. He's unique. And that causes problems.
If he could actually tap to his own rovers, which when you've got some of the best midfielders in the comp, you should be able to do. It's just unbelievable.
He's going to get first hands of the ball 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, and look, I'm sure they've got midfield coaches coming out their arse who know what they're doing.
Yep.
But for whatever reason, it's not working as well as it could, because if it does, they've got a 10-goal advantage in any team.
Yeah, I agree. Now, next, one of the games of the year, Essendon versus Hawthorn. Now, I was at that game, and it was unbelievable to watch. That finish, that last 2 minutes, was some of the best, most frantic football you ever see. It was almost a mirror opposite of last year, when Hawthorn were dominant all day, then Essendon clawed back to get in front, and then Hawthorn stole it at the end. Well, this time, Essendon were dominant all day, Hawthorn got back in front, and then Essendon stole it at the end. It is amazing game. The funny thing about it was, you know, the talk last week was how unbeatable Hawthorn was, which is just setting up the scene for they're going to get done. Hawthorn didn't play that badly. Essendon didn't allow them to play. They ran hard, they hustled, they hit targets, and I think that's the only way you can beat Hawthorn, is when you kick the ball, you've got to make sure it goes where you want it to go. And they did. They picked it apart.
I think the big thing is keeping Roughhead to 1.
Yeah, Hurley really dominated him.
I mean, Gunston got 3, but Roughhead's the power forward there. He's the one that can turn a game.
See, that was funny, because when the opening bounce, when they lined up, I saw that Gwilt was on Gunston. I thought, you beauty. Gunston's kicking a half dozen today. And I think his first 2 kicks were clangers or something like that. But, he did come good towards the end and kicked a couple. But, look, Roughhead, Frawley going down didn't help.
No, not at all.
And then they had to move, like McAvoy became a key defender. And did an awesome job as a ruckman come key defender. Then Roughhead was playing loose man in defence. He was playing ruck. They had to move him around because he wasn't taking marks in the forward line.
Yeah, and Hawthorn also lost Burgoyne, Suckling, and Mitchell before the match.
Not Burgoyne, Gibson.
Burgoyne fractured his cheek.
No.
Well, the report says so.
He might have during the match, but no, he played.
No, I mean Mitchell was before the match.
Mitchell was before the match. Burgoyne played out the game.
Yeah, Burgoyne, Frawley, and Suckling all played out but had injuries.
Frawley got subbed out in the first quarter. But yeah, and that's the other thing about Hawks. There was they're a little bit fumbly, but disorganised around their clearances. And you can only put that down to Shields was missing from last week. Mitchell was late withdrawal, and you can see how much his coaching on the ground makes such a big difference. Because without him there, they look disorganised.
And you need that. You need someone who can sort of oversee everything.
Yeah.
Because the coach can't get word out immediately.
No. I think one of the mistakes was not putting Burgoyne into the middle to replace Mitchell.
And that was probably because of the cheek as well. I'm not sure when he did it, but I know. And he's a quality player, Burgoyne.
He was playing in the last quarter, so I don't know what's going on with that. No, that's honestly the first time I heard that he did his cheek.
Yeah, Frawley's pec, that's pretty concerning. He did the other one
A couple of years ago.
Yeah, a while back.
Yeah, he's going to have 2 months out.
Yeah, you never want to see that.
Yeah, but the Hawthorn way is, Soldier goes down, another one steps up.
Yep.
And they got Spanger to come in, or Schoenmakers, but or Gibson comes back in next week. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah, Schoenmakers was surprised I haven't played him, but
yeah, it's unfortunate. I reckon he's going to play at West Coast next year, because they need key back in. He was on that precipice, and just didn't take. In 2012, he was there. He played in the grand final, and then 2013 they got Brian Lake. You're like, well, you're one down in the pecking order, and then 2014, he's still down there, and then Frawley comes in. You're like, well, champ, where's your role? But he had a good chance to go somewhere else in the off season, and he hung around. So,
and that's one thing that will hurt as well. The one thing you'd want if you're the Hawthorn backline coach is Frawley and Lake. Side by side.
Yeah, and Gibson. The thing about having Frawley there is he can take the grillers, and Gibson can run off, be the loose man, third man up.
Well, it's more for developing Frawley, I meant. Because Lake, he's done it all. He's seen everything. There's no trick you'll do to him that he hasn't seen before.
And Lake plays his own game.
Yeah, he's in his own head sometimes too. But every backman needs to have that little bit of crazy.
Yep.
You need to keep the full forward looking over their shoulder.
He's got it. He's got it.
He's got a few backman's worth of crazy. But you need to be intimidating as a backman. If you can't make the pretty boy full forwards look over their shoulder, you're wasting your time.
The good news story, obviously, is the Essendon on the day. There was such a big win for them, and they were worried about the last quarter fade out again after they gave it up to Essendon. 12 goals, 6 they kicked. That's impressive. That's because I think Hawthorn had more scoring shots.
11-10 they got.
There you go. So 21 versus 18, and they still took it out. They were so accurate with their field kicking too. They had, I think I said Collier, had an absolute blinder. He was so good, and he's come from the clouds a little bit. For mine, I reckon he's probably the most improved player in the AFL this year, and he just runs hard all day. There's a couple of nice running goals at the end as well.
Well, with Essendon, in the second quarter, they kicked 5-1.
Yeah,
now you take
that's
that
impressive.
return on any game. If you can kick 5-1 every quarter, you've won.
Yeah. Most teams use, if you get 6 shots on goal, there's going to be 4-2 or 3-3 or something like that. It's making the most of the opportunities. And a lot of those were rebound goals where they're running into space and taking big marks in the goal square. So you can make sure of it.
Well, rebound footy is the way all the top teams play now. Your half-back line is when you start attacking.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant to watch as well, because you can actually see the players running forward, picking options, kicking in front of players going to market. And they've got space, they've got movement. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
When they're doing the possession football, it's smart footy, but it's not attractive footy.
The other thing that came out of the game was a lot of complaining about the umpiring.
Surprise.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was actually pretty good on the day. There were some wrong decisions, like the poppy throw. I thought was one of the bad decisions that cost a goal late in the third quarter. But shit happens. Like, what's the point in arguing about the umpiring? It's not like nobody believes the umpires are on the take.
No.
They're just calling what they see, and they made a mistake. You know what? There was a lot of times where the Hawthorn players fumbled and missed snaps on goals. They made mistakes. We don't get that angry about it. But there was another one where Bruce ducked his head into a tackle and they called a ball up. I mean, that was holding the ball every day of the week. So it goes both ways.
Well, I don't think every supporter likes to have a bit of a crack at the umpires.
Yeah. But if your crack lasts more than 30 seconds, the fuck are you doing?
Pretty much. And when you see the Facebook rants with very poor English,
of course,
I think they're pretty much ranting by smashing their forehead into the keyboard and seeing what comes out. But
what do you get out of it?
Yeah, I can understand the catharsis, but
it's just it shits me to tears. People complaining about umpiring. I'm like, you know what? They're the umpires, and that's what they do. It's bad luck. It's rub of the green. Life's unfair.
They call it as well as they see it. Granted, I've been upset at umpires
of course
pretty regularly, but you kind of let it go because I'm not going to go out there and fucking umpire.
No, fuck that. I've done it in juniors. It sucks.
Yeah, getting abused by everyone. If you play for one team, at least you're going to get abused by 50% of them.
Yeah. Well, depending on how good you're playing.
Well,
no,
if you're playing for Richmond,
you're always getting abused by 50% of the crowd. It just depends which 50%.
Yeah, very true.
In the last game, North versus Brisbane.
Game of the year.
Yeah, game of the year. Yeah, I think I fell asleep. No, fortunately, I was in the car on the way back from the Hawthorn game for the first half. Goldstein had a blinder. But, I mean, North were jogging it in by half-time.
It's cost North heaps by Dal Santo having a worry.
Yeah, pulled his hammy.
Yeah. But you've got to sit him out until he's ready, just because you need him fit if you're going to play finals.
Yeah.
You don't want him to have 10 mediocre games when you could sit out, say 4 of them and have 6 blinders.
Yeah.
Wells going down isn't good either, but he's had less of an impact this year than I'd hoped for.
When Wells went down, is he out?
Oh, no, they finished the match.
Yeah. I didn't see, will he be back next week?
Possibly. They're saying both of them will be available for selection.
Right.
But I just can't see the value in putting him in. I mean,
I think one of the big moves that changes from round 1 to round 2, because North had a shocker in round 1 and then belted Brisbane in round 2. Big Benny Brown was back.
Honestly, it flabbergasts me that he's not in every week.
Especially after his final series last year. He was the best player in the final series. Not for North, the best player in the final series.
Oh, he was certainly most surprising. I mean, his ability to take contested marks, kick nice goals, kick Franklin-style goals.
Yeah.
On the run, in the pocket, bang, straight through the middle.
Yep.
And
great set shot.
He has a brilliant set shot. He has that routine where he puts the ball to his forehead. Look,
whatever works.
I don't give a shit if he sticks the ball up his arse. If he kicks him
straight,
go for it. People gave Kennedy shit about his stutter step. He still was kicking him straight.
As long as he kicks him straight, nobody cares.
I don't care. You can do the Matty Lloyd, throw the grass up in the air, put your toes to your forehead. As long as you're kicking straight from a set shot from a full forward, you're doing your job. But he was a surprise. Turner didn't play the first round either. I was shocked by that. No, he was sub.
He was sub, yeah. I was going to say, I thought he did.
I don't know why you'd have him sub. He was one of the best finds.
Yeah. I hate the sub rule just in general. It makes no sense.
In theory, you're supposed to be able to recover from an injury, but it's used tactically all the time.
I'm going to say, even if you, look at Hawthorn, it lost, or Carlton against Richmond the other week, lost a player in the first minute. It means they can't inject their sub, late in the third quarter like Richmond did. So it doesn't save anything. It's just a different kind of resource you have to use.
Yeah.
You don't get an extra resource, and it doesn't cover you for a loss. It's just a different one.
Yeah.
It's fucking pointless. And the other thing I had about the sub was with Hawthorn, James Sicily plays his AFL debut on Sunday, and he gets a green vest. I thought if everything goes right, he's going to sit on his ass for 3.5 quarters. For his first game, and that sucks.
Well, I remember I think it was Dunstall was talking about it. He's saying your first match, if you start with the green vest on, it's less pressure and everything. But you want to be running out there with the team. You want to be.
You've got so much nervous energy.
You want to be on the field when that whistle blows for your first game and that ball bounces, the crowd roars. You want to be in the middle for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rather than sitting on the bench for the green vest. West.
especially in the middle of the MCG in front of 60,000.
Oh look,
God.
I
I don't know what the positive is of the sub rule. It just does not make sense.
I think the positive is Brent Harvey could play 500. I don't know.
Yeah. Good luck trying to put the fucking green vest on Brent Harvey. I think I saw him once get a red vest, and he nearly hit the bloke. The bloke was 60. He was giving it to him, and he nearly gave him one.
You'd be game, but look, Jared Waite kicked the bag full.
Kick 7. Carlton must be happy with that. Geez, all their forwards. Eddie Betts is kicking goals. Joe Waite's kicking goals. Jeffrey Garlett's kicking goals.
Look, and you look at players they've let go. You know, those Jacobs is firing for Adelaide.
I don't know if they had much of a choice in that one, but still, you know, he's only left a couple of years ago. The Kennedy swap for Judd. I mean, you got to say Judd's done well for them, but geez, they could do with a key forward right about now.
Yeah, you'd probably say, as it stands right now, Carlton probably got the better of that deal.
Yeah, but not for long.
No, I think.
Well, Judd finishes this year.
Yeah, it depends on how the other midfielders come.
Yeah,
Like if you can get
Murphy and Gibbs.
up to elite level, well, they're knocking on the door.
Yeah, and you know, I think Murphy might have even gone back.
Yeah, but to me, an elite midfielder is a guy that'll walk into any team.
Yep.
No, Carlton don't have any that would walk into any team.
No. That's a fair call.
But yeah, you know, with the Roos, it was footy. Wasn't pretty footy. They pretty much did what they had to do. Like I said, Goldstein, he's a brilliant ruckman for his size, and he's not as good an athlete as a lot of guys.
You feel like
what you need to do.
He's getting the best out of himself.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's an honest effort from him. I mean, he might have got smashed a little bit in round 1, but then again, the whole team got smashed in round 1.
Yeah, but he's one of the few guys I think that's rucking on his own. Like he takes a vast majority of the taps.
Yeah, I think even last year he was like percentage of games played. He was up there in the top 2 or 3 in the league
In terms of time
on the field. Yeah. Which takes it out of you, especially for a big man.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, they're playing him rather than rotating out. Occasionally he gets a 2-minute rest in the forward line, but I haven't seen him on the bench very much at all.
No. That's just the way they've decided to run him.
Yeah, and you know they've got Brown takes some taps.
Petrie does, I'm sure.
But then you've also got Curry sitting in the Bs waiting to have a crack.
Yeah, he was. He got 2 or 3 games last year, didn't he? And yeah, I think the unfortunate thing for him was Ben Brown was there.
Oh, absolutely. And Curry, I've got a lot of time for him. I think he's an AFL level footballer, and I think he'd be a good one.
Yeah, big men take time.
But Brown's better at the moment.
Yeah.
And he's younger, and he's more exciting, and he kicks goals. You will not drop Brown for Curry.
No, not at the minute. No way.
You cannot.
It's such a shock that they did for round 1. They got not dropped him for Curry, but they just dropped Ben Brown.
Yeah, no, it was done.
Well, that's 2 rounds of the AFL in, and you know everyone's writing off everybody, and premierships have already been won by some teams, but which is always funny. I think after round 2, how they think the year's always going to pan out. Round 6 is when I think that it really starts to shape itself.
Oh no, I think we can make a call after the next round.
Yeah.
Just for the Friday night match, Collingwood St Kilda. Collingwood lose that. They're Cactus.
I think they're Cactus anyway. Pendlebury doesn't play, they've got no chance.
Oh, I'm going to be cheering for St Kilda, don't lie.
The next game, this could get ugly. Carlton versus Essendon. I mean, out of all the big rivalries and Melbourne-based teams, these two hate each other the most, and I think Essendon might.
On form, you got to say Essendon will steamroll them.
I think they could go home at 3/4 time and still win.
But I hope Carlton
show something.
Yeah, just because you know they're not as terrible a side as they're playing.
No. Like I said,
their first quarter is brilliant.
First quarter. It's just the rest of them.
Hell, if they can have a brilliant first and the third quarter, they'll give it a shake.
They'll be respectable, and that's all they're looking for at this minute is respect, because they've been shit.
But they've really got to put in this week.
Right now, who in the league are Carlton beating? Like who would you expect them to beat?
Well, the only teams without wins are
Gold Coast, Geelong.
Port win this too, aren't
Port.
they? Yeah.
They're not beating Port. They're not
No.
beating Geelong.
No.
And Gold Coast they'll have a tussle with. It's gonna be a long season for Carlton.
Yeah, it'll probably. I think the Saturday game, Adelaide, Melbourne.
Adelaide, Melbourne. Oh, it's Adelaide all over, isn't it?
In Adelaide. They should just steamroll them.
If there is any more of a certainty in this round, then I don't know what it is. Sydney GWS. Is that at the SCG?
It is.
Is that Sydney's first game of the SCG? Who they played round one? No, they played Essendon. Going to be very interesting.
Look, I think this is where we get to know where GWS is at.
Absolutely.
I really want them to do well.
Yeah, but I don't see, not after last week, I don't see them beating Sydney. Sydney were on point.
Yeah, look, I want them to do well. I would never put money on them in this match.
No,
but
I'd love it if they won.
I think they can win a quarter.
Yeah,
and if they can win, if they can be in control of the match for half of it, they take that as a win.
I just think that Tippett and Franklin are going to have a bit of a day out.
Yeah, I mean their backmen are still pretty.
Yeah, I mean, what's his name? Came from the Crows. Oh, I've gone blank. Phil Davis, great player, and I think he embarrassed Franklin last year. He played that well in round one. I don't think it will happen twice.
No, Franklin's a quality player.
Yeah.
Even his worst enemy would say that.
Yeah.
But look, I think GWS can definitely get something out of the match.
It's got interest in it.
And
It'll be a great game.
There will be times when they can take control.
Yep.
If they capitalise on those times, they'll push Sydney. And it's certainly not impossible for them to win.
Yeah. One thing on Sydney too. While we're there, there might have been a bit of concerns with their backlines this year because Malcheski is obviously left.
Yep.
But Jesus, isn't that looking good? Because he is looking shocking at Gold Coast. It's only 2 games in, but he's looking shocking.
But the ball's been down there a lot too.
Yeah, it's too, yeah. North versus Port. Now, this is a great game.
It's going to be interesting. Two
Etihad.
teams that like to run
Yep.
in Etihad. Hopefully they'll close the roof because it's been a little bit windy and wet.
I think if Scott's the coach, even if it wasn't already mandated, and it is going to rain on Saturday, that roof's getting motherfucking closed if he has to go up there and do it himself.
I'd be shocked if he didn't know where the switch was. I reckon he staked that fucker out and he's probably made himself a key.
Who has more to prove in this game, Port or North?
North, easy.
You reckon North?
Yeah, because their capitulation round one was shocking.
They've
beating an undermanned Brisbane, while you can only bet your team to put on the field,
they had to beat them the way they did.
They did, but
because if they had a 20-point win against that Brisbane team, there'd still be questions about them. But they rolled over them like they should have.
They beat a very injury hit Brisbane. I think Brisbane are an up and coming team. They're not going to play finals this year.
No, definitely not now.
But 2-3 years they're going to be a big team, but they're not there yet. And North beating them doesn't really prove anything. So
it's a perfect time for this game for North.
Yeah, North needs to win at least one of the next 3 matches.
Yep.
To even think about being a top 4 team, which is what they were aiming for at the start of the year.
Yeah, they played a prelim last year, so nobody aims to go backwards.
No, I mean you can't. You go backwards, you get sacked.
It's they've the last 1 or 2 years they've had the hot and cold tag. So this year they've been shit. So they copped a flogging, gave a flogging. So this week, if they cop a flogging again, it's just they haven't changed a bit. Port, however, could go 0-3 against 3 good teams from last year, but 0-3 is still 0-3. It's not the end of the world. It's still 0-3.
Yeah, look, no one likes to lose their first match. You go 0-2, and you start getting pressure. You start questioning things. You go 0-3, and all of a sudden that pressure's tripled.
Yep.
And look, Port haven't done much wrong exactly. They just haven't been able to get it all together.
Yeah.
If Port get it all together, they'll blow North off the field.
Yep.
On paper, they're a better side.
This is, like I said, it's such good timing for North for this game. Because it's now they need to test themselves against quality opposition again, and they get a chance.
Yeah, and this is the sort of game for North where a player that stands up has got the next 10 weeks in the Guernsey at least. It's
going to be very interesting too with Port because Pike was so dominant last week against Redden and Ryder. It looks like Lobby isn't going to play. So Goldstein had an absolute blinder last week. So if Redden and Ryder couldn't beat Pike, they've got a better ruckman this week. So it's going to be very interesting how they combat that.
And which midfield gets first use, that'll decide the match.
Yep.
I'd say Port's midfield is classier.
Yep.
Pretty much because of Robbie Gray.
He's started this season like he finished last year. He's looked so good. It's just
he's had some
hasn't
quiet
been enough
patches,
around him.
But I think too he hasn't had the luxury of someone looking out for him.
Yeah, okay.
And I think your elite midfielders need that. You
Yep.
need someone who's going to help you shake a tag, and he's been doing it without that.
Yeah, Wingard could do with getting a few more kicks as well. Brisbane versus Richmond. Geez, I hope this doesn't turn out as bad as it could.
Look, it's up in Brisbane, so yeah, Richmond can move the ball so quickly. Until Merritt gets back, I would not tip Brisbane to win anything.
Yeah, Richmond need to show something.
They do, and it's not just Richmond the team. Richmond individuals need to show something if they want to get picked. And if they don't storm Brisbane, you're changing the team. If
Richmond go 1 and 2, and they've had a relatively speaking, an easy start to the year, that's not very good. It's only going to get harder from here on in. When they start having their big Friday night marquee matches, if they get too far behind that 50% win mark, there's going to be some changes. Hawthorn Bulldogs down in Tassie.
I reckon that's going to be pretty exciting.
I think it's great timing for the Bulldogs as well. They've played a couple of good matches in rounds 1 and 2. They're undefeated, and now they get to face the reigning premiers.
Oh, they'll come out breathing fire. I would not be at all surprised if they were leading at quarter time.
Yep.
But I reckon Hawthorn will come out on top in the end.
Especially if they're coming off a loss.
Yeah, I think the Bulldogs are just going to be a little bit too excited, and they want to prove themselves against the reigning premiers.
I don't know if they'd be overawed. Excited, I agree with you.
No, I think they're too young to be overawed.
In previous years, I think they've been overawed against these big sides. But I don't think they will be now. I think they've got their tails up and they're ready to go.
Yeah, not when you're starting so well. And you got guys who are playing and wanting to play finals. And look, you'd put them in the mix right now. I think they'll, like I said, come out breathing fire. They'll run themselves in the dirt for the first 20 minutes. I think they'll struggle after that. Because Hawthorn, they play four-quarter football. They know there's ebbs and flows, and once they've got a bit of a run on, they'll capitalise. So when the Bulldogs are running a bit tired, that's when Hawthorn's going to strike. And
there's no doubt that there's talent there on Hawks. They're looking for 3 premierships in a row.
Well, yeah,
it goes without question.
You don't fluke a premiership, and you definitely don't get
fluke 2 in a row. Yeah. Geelong versus Gold Coast. Geelong have everything to lose in this one. It's down at Skilled Stadium. If they lose to Gold Coast, you can put a line through them. I don't care if there's only 3 rounds. You can't be losing to Gold Coast.
Especially when Ablett's not playing.
Not playing.
No, yeah, that's right. His shoulder hasn't come up as well as I'd hoped.
So he's out for another couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think the Geelong faithful will be disappointed that Ablett's not playing, because they still love seeing him run around.
Yeah, you do. And plenty of them still dream about him coming back to the club.
Yeah, and it could still happen. I don't think it will,
but
it could.
Unfortunately, I think we've seen the best of him.
Really? Writing him off?
No, I'm not writing him off. I'm just saying he's going from Superman to just Captain America.
15 rounds last year, he was still leading the Brownlow. And I thought he could have won the Brownlow still, despite missing the last third.
Pre-injury, yeah.
Now the injury, it's,
I think it's more than what he's had. Like, the injury
he's had serious injury.
Is going to take a long time to fully heal. And if he's still playing week in, week out...
See, that's the thing. I think it doesn't fully heal. Like, he'll never be 100% again. It might be 90%, or it might be 95%, but it'll never be 100 again.
Look, Gary Ablett, at 90% of his potential, is still better than 99% of everyone else.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think he's gone from a clear head and shoulders above the rest to just one shoulder above the rest.
And the final game is the Western Derby, West Coast versus Freo, and West Coast just cannot keep a team on the field. They've had so many injuries, it's almost cruel. They always come up for this game, but Freo 2-0, beaten quality opposition in Port and Geelong. It could get ugly. as in Freo might just run away with this one, and it's not West Coast's fault. They just run out of players.
Worth mentioning too, Freo have won the last 5.
The last 5 derbies, have they?
Yeah.
Well, that's not surprising. I mean, West Coast haven't played finals, I don't think, in the last 5 years, or if they have, it was 5 years ago. And Freo have been, up and around the top 4 of those years, so I can't see that changing.
Yeah, they've won the last 5 and 14 of the last 18. So
there you go.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to say that's that's something you've got to consider.
Yep.
They've had the wood on them lately, and
with the injuries West Coast have,
Yeah,
it's just not going to happen.
and West Coast have got a decent midfield.
Yeah.
Fremantle's got a better one.
Yeah.
Every position you look at,
Yeah.
I can't actually say any single player would. I mean, Nat Nui versus Sandilands is different because they're different players.
But right now, if I was picking a side, I'd pick Nat Nui ahead of Sandilands, and that's probably it.
That's the only one I can think of.
Like in like for like,
Yeah.
position wise, because even though Kennedy kicked 10 last week, I'd still take Pav.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
Mark Lecraft. But
Yeah.
Walters plays that small forward role really well as well. But look, it's a shame because West Coast it's so cruel to be have that many injuries this early in the year. But
Yeah. I do want West
them's
Coast
the
to do
breaks.
well just because Simpson's their coach now.
Yep.
And
He's
got
an
a lot
old
of
North
respect
boy.
for him. Yeah. And he's one of those good old-fashioned footy players too.
Yeah.
So seeing him do well as a coach would be brilliant.
It won't be this year.
No, I think he's going to suffer a bit of lately-itis in that he's only going to be as good as the team on the field allows him to be.
Yeah.
And not really going to get a chance to prove himself. I mean, it's not like he's going to walk into a team that was top 4 like Buckley did.
Yep. And take him down.
And have the luxury of booting them down to, in the top 12. But, speaking of that, I think round 4, if Pies are 0-4.
Well, that'll be Anzac Day.
Oh, if they lose Anzac Day, do you reckon Buckley even
And
turns up?
they will lose Anzac
Do you reckon
Day.
he'll even turn up Monday?
Yeah, he's still got Eddie. But it's very funny you bring it up because it was something that I was talking about last week. That this will be his 4th year, and I can't see them finishing higher than they finished last year. And that'll be 4 years in a row they've gone down. Guy McKenna took Gold Coast every year higher than they were the previous year, and he got sacked.
Look, you've absolutely got to look after your club players, and Buckley, he was a favourite son of the club.
Yep. It's a feel-good story and all that, but
Yep, but the club, I think, has paid that debt. He's still got a lot of goodwill. I don't think that's going to extend if they go 0-4. Like, they haven't gone there yet, but they're getting injured. They're not playing brilliant football when they do have the ball.
well, 0-4. Like I think everyone expects them to lose to Essendon on Anzac Day, but 0-4 means they lost to St Kilda on Friday night football.
That would be a
That
big
hurts.
nail. Like losing Anzac Day, it's their grand final for the year.
It's the biggest home and away game of the year.
By far. Every derby, every other match would love that atmosphere, that crowd. Anzac Day is just, if they can get up and win it.
If they get up and win it, they're happy with their year.
Yeah, he's got the rest of the season to try and turn it around. If they lose that, and they are 0-4 by that time of the season with a loss to St Kilda, geez,
It hurts.
and it's not.
I'll tell you what. Sorry, keep going.
So it's not disrespectful to say, bloke, you're not really doing the job you're doing.
Well-
But you can like the guy, you still got to get results from him.
Well, how's this? If they go 0-4, I believe Carlton will go 0-4. Round 5, Carlton versus Collingwood. Mick Malthouse is breaking the record. If both teams are 0-4, I think it's probably going to be the last game for one of the coaches. It could be the absolute coach killer game. So they probably won't sack a coach after round 5, but whoever loses that game is probably not going to see round 23.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment. I mean,
Yeah, 0-5. And
is
one
a
of
bit-
them's going to be 0-5.
it is a bit of a knee jerk to sack the coach. Everyone always says, we're doing shit, sack the coach. We're doing shit, sack the coach. And it's not always his fault, but when you've got a long-term downward trend, You've had different players, you've had different game plans, you've had different
You've had time.
seasons, you've had the ability to recruit to
Yeah.
fill your holes. If you haven't done any of that, the buck stops with the coach.
Yep, and like you can say they've been unlucky with injuries
Yeah,
and
they
stuff like. Yep, you have, but that's why you have 42 on the list or whatever it is.
And there hasn't been a season where there haven't been at least 3 teams who've had terrible injuries, and
done something with it.
at least one of you.
Yeah.
And look, we give Collingwood shit, and I think that's a Melbourne tradition.
I think it's a
But,
birthright.
Yeah, but look, in all honesty, I think they'll be looking.
Yeah, it could be.
And I think replacing Buckley will be a lot easier than replacing Nick Morehouse.
Yep. And I think it's an easier sell as well.
Yeah. Look, you can throw names around, and it'll be interesting if Collingwood and Carlton are both hunting for the same coaches. Because that means there's going to be a lot of demand from 2 clubs with fairly deep pockets.
Yeah, and there's one coach with a very high price who's doing nothing at the minute. And that's Bomber Thompson. Be
Well, yeah.
very interesting to see him coach either of those 2 sides.
He'd be rubbing his hands together because, if you were him, which one would you rather go to?
I honestly, any day of the week, Collingwood, just
I'd
because
have
they're
to say
so
so.
well resourced.
Yeah, and also I think they've got a lot more upside than Carlton do.
At the minute they do, yeah, their list is better.
You just throw Pendlebury in there, and he's worth any 3 players at Carlton.
Yeah, except Judd. But Judd's not going to be there next year. So
I'd be shocked.
there you go. All right, so that's round 2 wrap up, and looking forward to round 3. We'll do this again next week about the AFL and see if we're talking shit or not.
Oh, we're obviously talking shit. We just might be right.
Yeah, we might be right. All right, see ya.
Gotcha.